Coming up on this edition of Rock 11 Now Weekly, find out where Rockville lands on Money Magazine's list of best places to live in America. And shining a light on diversity with the My Rockville movement, we'll explain. And we celebrate Black History Month with a look at one teenager's passion to preserve a piece of Rockville's African-American history. More news, more often, right now. This is Rock 11 Now Weekly, so let's get into it. Take a bow, Rockville. Your city is the #1 place to live in Maryland. Money Magazine came out with its list of best places to live in America, and Rockville, you got the top spot in the state.
It is so wonderful to have the national recognition as the best city in the state of Maryland. It just speaks to what most of us who live here recognize, and we're very, very proud of that recognition.
The magazine points out Rockville's parks, shops, diversity, and low unemployment and crime rates. And the city's driving force are its residents.
I think it's our citizens. We have very engaged citizens in the city of Rockville. They serve on boards and commissions. They interact with the mayor and council at our meetings, at drop-in. They set up meetings all the time with me and others. So I think that really helps lead the city in the direction that the community wants to go.
You can walk around and people are friendly, they say hi.
It's perfect for a family. Everything's really close. A lot of great things for families and kids.
This is a great city. I'm being in the state for about 40 years, and this is the best city I ever lived in the United States, without any doubt whatsoever.
And combine that with the dedicated city staff, and that's a recipe for good living.
Second of all is our staff. You know, when staff and the community and the mayor and council all work together, you get the best result.
Money Magazine also placed Rockville in the top 50 of the best places to live in the country. You can see the full report by going to money.com and searching Best Places to Live in Every State 2017. Rockville, a city that is constantly changing, evolving, and adapting to the needs of its citizens. People from all over the world have come here to take part in the American dream. And they infuse their culture and perspective to make Rockville one of the most diverse cities in the nation. So we're introducing a new series called My Rockville to showcase the stories of those people who share a common love for the place they work, play, and live.
I'm Jorge Restrepo. Welcome to My Rockville. My grandfather, Jorge Restrepo Uribe. He was mayor of Medellin, and he was a congressman in Colombia. I follow a lot of the inspiration on what he did throughout his life. So that's why I have him in my office, and I look up, okay, Abuelito, what would you do now?
I am from Colombia, from Medellin, Colombia. I always had some plan to come to the United States. When I finished with my dad, we had talked about it. When I finished high school, I came and started chemical engineering. But it turns out that I didn't like the chemistry aspect as much. So I went back to Colombia and I studied business. Later on, I wanted to come here because I found that there were a lot of opportunities. My first search was to look for a place that was going to be convenient to Metro, that was going to be accessible to different parts of the capital area. So at first I found one vacant suite in a basement right here in Rockville, and I started there. And then after that, I found that Rockville offered more and more. The kind of work that is done in this area also attracts a lot of companies like ours that does research. We operate a focus group facility, so we have to bring a lot of people to participate in interviews and in focus groups. And we're able to find people from every single walk of life right here in Rockville. The reasons why I am in Rockville, why I chose to grow and want to continue to grow in Rockville, go beyond the kind of the business location. It's the people, and that makes it the space, the place, the community where I could call my Rockville.
So check out the special My Rockville insert in the February edition of Rockville Reports. At the January 22nd Mayor and Council meeting, Mayor Newton had a very special gavel to bring the meeting to order.
I would like to show you all the Mayor and Council's new gavel. This was made for the Mayor and Council out of one of the beams at the King Farm farmstead by the father of the project manager. It is engraved and it's up here for after the meeting if anybody wants to take a look at it. A beautiful piece of work continuing the tradition in Rockville of preserving what we can and making things go forward into the next generation. So here's our gavel. It's bigger than the old one, makes a lot of noise.
And that gavel will eventually be on display in City Hall with more information of how it was created. And to find out more about upcoming Mayor and Council meetings, just head to rockvillemd.gov/agenda center. Still to come on Rock 11 Now Weekly, Rockville 11 celebrates Black History Month with a story about a Boy Scouts mission to help save a piece of Rockville's African-American history. It's next, right after this.
Love is in the air at Rockville's community recreation centers to celebrate Valentine's Day. You're sure to find plenty of ways for your family and friends to get in the mood with dancing, chocolate, arts and crafts, and much more. The information is on your screen, and you can register for events with a course number at rockvillemd.gov/registration.
Welcome back to Rock 11 Now Weekly. February is Black History Month, and Rockville 11 is celebrating by sharing the story of a Boy Scout's journey to becoming an Eagle Scout by helping preserve a part of Rockville's African-American history. Rockville 11's Craig Buchanan has the story.
This is an African-American historic cemetery that's been in my family since the 1880s, and we want to preserve this.
Hayti Cemetery is a cemetery for freed black slaves. Right now, there are about 30 grave markers, with many graves still unmarked.
Through history, the blacks didn't have nowhere to bury their family and stuff. We wanted an area, where we could bury our own.
For years, the Crutchfields have tried to preserve this historic site. Their family taking on the responsibility of keeping the grounds and the remains of their loved ones at peace. But over time, it became more than the Crutchfields could handle. Luckily, an Eagle Scout candidate, Aaron Mazariegos, read about the cemetery and knew that he could make a difference and help give this spot of Black history in Rockville the much-needed TLC it deserves and history demands.
We just found the cemetery. It was sort of in shambles. Some of the gravestones have been knocked over. There was lots of overgrown areas.
So Aaron made the bold decision for his Eagle Scout service project to help restore Hayti Cemetery to a more respectable final resting place.
Mr. Crutchfield was very grateful that I wanted to have my Eagle Scout project here.
This really is a true blessing for us and will help us to get to that end goal of preserving this for future generations.
One teenager's ambition multiplied across volunteers, clearing debris and restoring the property.
We're going to be installing a bench and a sign to memorialize the graves that have been knocked over and the bodies that have been lost over history and give them their rightful place in history.
And to bring things full circle, Mr. Henry Crutchfield was a scoutmaster for a Rockville Boy Scout troop. So it's fitting to watch this Boy Scout mount the cemetery's first sign.
I see community service as a way to basically repay what this world has given me. This is the world that we live in. We have to treat it with the respect that it deserves.
One day I hope to be buried here. My kids hope to be buried here.
What was once a field of broken graves and unkept grounds, Hayti Cemetery is now a proud historic site in Rockville.
That's going to do it for this edition of Rock 11 Now Weekly. Remember, you can check out the latest happenings on our online newsletter at rockvillereports.com. And join in on the conversation and check out our posts by signing up for Nextdoor at nextdoor.com. And keep up with Rockville 11 by subscribing to our City of Rockville YouTube channel. And you can follow us on Twitter at Rockville 11, on Instagram at Rockville MD, and like us on Facebook. For the entire Rock 11 Now Weekly team, I'm Kathy Dantzler. Until next week, Rockville.